Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I am so hyped you're here for today's explainer, because we're taking something you use literally every single second of your waking life, and we're going to break it down into its rawest materials. Think about human language for a second. It's not just, words on a page. It's an absolutely massive architectural project. Just like a towering skyscraper is built from these tiny, microscopic particles of steel and glass, the sentences we speak, they're built from invisible building blocks. So in this explainer, we're going to deconstruct the hidden codes of human speech. To kick things off, what does a tiny, single puff of air have in common with a massive, complex word like deactivation? Sounds kind of like a trick question, right? But the answer actually unlocks the incredible hidden mechanics of how we communicate. We're going on a seriously fast-paced deep dive today into the very DNA of our vocabulary. And I promise you, by the end of this, you are never going to look at the words coming out of your mouth the same way again. Language is architecture. Our mission in this explainer is to literally deconstruct our speech from the atomic level all the way up to global communication systems. It's wild to think about, but we build profound meaning from the absolute smallest possible bricks and sounds. We start with nothing but breath and a little vibration, and we build up to poetry, philosophy, and science. Okay, section 1, the atoms of sound. Let's start at the absolute ground floor. Meet our foundational brick, the phoneme. A phoneme is simply the smallest unit of sound in a language. But here's the absolutely crucial part. It has zero meaning on its own. It is fundamentally just an abstract acoustic landmark that our brains have collectively agreed upon. Literally, it's just a vibration in your throat, a little puff of air from your lips, or pleasing your tongue in a specific spot. Think of phonemes like individual keys on a piano. A single C note doesn't tell a story, right? It doesn't paint a picture or convey an emotion by itself. Its only job is just to exist, waiting to be combined. Let's look at a really concrete example. Take the word cat. It's actually built from 3 distinct, completely meaningless sounds. You've got the hard k at the back of the throat, the flat a in the middle, and the sharp t right at the teeth. Now, obviously, none of these individual puffs of air mean furry pet with whiskers. But when you stack them together in this exact order, they act as invisible boundaries, telling our brains exactly where one word begins and another ends. And here's where this architecture gets so fragile and honestly pretty beautiful. Compare cat with that k sound to bat using a b sound. You haven't just swapped out a letter on a page. You've triggered what linguists call a minimal pair shift. By changing one single tiny vibration of your lips, you've completely transformed a purring feline into a flying mammal. That is the incredible butterfly effect of the phoneme. Moving on up, section 2, the seeds of meaning. All right, so we're stepping up from those meaningless atoms of sound to the core units that actually carry the heavy weight of a definition. Enter the morpheme. If the phoneme is the atom of sound, the morpheme is the atom of meaning. It is the absolute smallest possible unit of a language that actually carries a real definition or a grammatical function. You can really think of the morpheme as the soul of a word. If you try to break it down any further than this, you completely destroy its meaning. These guys are the beating hearts and the limbs of our entire vocabulary. But not all morphemes act the same way. We basically have 2 distinct camps here. First, the free morphemes. These are the sturdy, self-sufficient roots. They can stand completely alone out in the wild. Words like house, light, or kind. They conjure up a clear image right away, right? Then, on the other side, we have the bound morphemes. These are the wanderers. They absolutely cannot survive alone. They have to attach themselves to a root to completely alter its destiny, like prefixes and suffixes. Let's visually stack this together and deconstruct the word unkindly. Step 1, we have un, which is a bound morpheme meaning not. Step 2, we drop in kind, our free root morpheme meaning gentle. And step 3, we tack on ly, another bound traveler that swoops in and turns the whole thing into an adverb. See what we did there? We just added layers of meaning, exactly like a master painter adds delicate glazes to a canvas. We started with a base color and completely shifted its tone and function. Which brings us to section 3, purpose versus power. It's time to pit these 2 concepts against each other. The easiest way to truly grasp the difference is this. Phonemes are all about contrast. They exist purely so your ear can tell the difference between he bit the apple and he hit the apple. The B sound doesn't actually mean teeth, but it contrasts perfectly with the H sound. Morphemes, on the other hand, are all about content. They hold the ultimate power because they are the actual building blocks of the ideas you are trying to share with the world. But occasionally, we get this fascinating crossover. Look at what happens when we add an S to the word dog. When you say dogs, you're producing this buzzing Z sound. Now, that single sound is a phoneme, but in this specific, rare case, that single sound also carries the massive, heavy weight of plurality, meaning more than one. It's pulling double duty, acting as a morpheme simultaneously. But even when they perfectly overlap like this, their underlying jobs of contrast versus content remain distinctly separate. Consider this quote for a second. Phonemes allow for infinite variety. Morphemes allow for infinite complexity. It is just absolutely staggering to realize that by simply rearranging a tiny set of sounds, we're talking about just 44 phonemes in the English language, we can build millions upon millions of incredibly complex words. We can start with a simple little root like act and mathematically expand it all the way out to deactivation. Mind-blowing, right? And finally, Section 4, clear global communication. So when we take this whole linguistic architecture out of theory and into the real world, we run into a problem. How on earth do we protect these super fragile microscopic sounds when we're trying to communicate across the vast distances of the globe? Well, you've probably seen the International Radiotelephony Spelling Alphabet before. Most people just call it the NATO phonetic alphabet. But this isn't just military jargon. It's an absolutely ingenious human invention, specifically designed to protect delicate phonemes. Because a B sound and a P sound can so easily get lost or swapped in radio static, we literally assigned entire words to act as armor for those phonemes. Alpha, Bravo, Charlie. We use robust, multisyllable, free and bound morphemes to guarantee that our tiny, vital atoms of sound survive the journey across oceans and continents without getting scrambled. Which leaves us with this final, kind of mind-bending thought to wrap up today's explainer. If just 44 meaningless sounds can build the millions of words sitting in our current dictionaries, what infinite complexities are waiting in the sounds we haven't even invented yet? Language is an architecture that is literally never finished. We're always adding new bricks. If this deep dive into the matrix of human speech blew your mind today, smash that like button, share this explainer with a fellow language nerd, and absolutely make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on our upcoming deep dives. Drop a comment below with your absolute favorite morpheme. Let's get a trend going down there. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you in the next explainer.